This is Ice Cream Gecko, and in today's video we're going to take a look at the Ben & Jerry's Moophoria Salted Caramel Brownie. Caramel ice cream with brownie pieces and a salted caramel swirl. Let's take a quick look. No, we better take off that little plastic seal on top to take a look at that. Let's take a quick look at the ingredients list right here in German. Let's take a look at it in French. Let's take a look at it in Dutch. Let's take a quick look at the nutrition table right here as well. 465 milliliters, and in those are 292 grams of ice cream mass. Let's take off the very top of it. Yeah, it's not really filled to the top, a bit unevenly filled. Looks alright though. What does it smell like? It doesn't really smell of much, to be honest. I expected some sort of ice creamy smell, some caramel smell, but yeah, nothing really comes into my nose from that. A bit disappointing almost. Now let's slice this one apart, do it right about here. It is of course much easier to cut than a regular Ben & Jerry's ice cream, as these here are the lower calorie count ice creams from them, and therefore there is a lot more air in them as well. They're not as dense as the regular classic American style ice cream. This is the cross section of it, and it does look okay. Which one are we going to take a look at? Yeah, I cut straight through the ingredients list, so it doesn't really matter which one I'm going to take. I'll take the left one. Now that the other half is in the freezer, I'm ready to take a closer look at this particular ice cream. Now let's take a look at, let's zoom in for that maybe. Get a bit of a better close-up shot of this. Let's take a look at the base ice cream right here. So other than the vegan or non-dairy options, this right here is actual ice cream, I assume. And the only thing they change is they make it a lot more airy, use some different ingredients I suppose for some things, to push down the calorie count a little bit. Usually those Moophoria ice creams aren't really my thing, because they always, well, they quite often lack a certain flavor that I just assume with premium ice cream like this right here. I bought this on sale for €5, but €5 is still quite a bit, and you certainly want to have something very tasty for that amount of money. And the first spoonful of the ice cream base is going in. Yeah, well, the base ice cream is okay. It tastes a lot like these milk toffees that I talked about in another video before. Yeah, it comes very close to that. However, it does taste a lot more milky than caramelly when it really dissolves in your mouth, when it melts. It's not as rich in flavor, not as creamy as I would hoped. Much more milky and watery when it actually melts. Yes, the same thing goes for the second spoonful as well. Let's take a look at one of these brownie pieces right here. Looks alright. Size is, it could be a bit bigger, but it's alright. The first brownie piece is a lot more crumbly than I expected. Usually with brownies they are quite chewy, quite moist. This one right here is a lot drier. Not chewy at all, almost. Very crumbly, like cake. Very much like cake base. Yeah. Not really like a brownie, at least not like the ones that I had before. Alright, and we are almost through. I do enjoy that this is more of a simple setup when it comes to the ice cream, and not as many different things going on. Let's take a quick taste test of the, what's it called? The salted caramel swirl. Yeah, a lot of molten ice cream on it already. Well, I do really like this particular caramel swirl. It certainly is a lot more toffee-like than the regular caramel swirls in ice cream. A bit milky, nice and creamy, not too salty. There's a bit of salt flavor in here, but not too much. With salt you can very quickly overdo it, but right here blends in perfectly with the surrounding ice cream. Yeah, the second spoonful was a bit more salty, maybe a bit less ice cream surrounding it on the spoon itself, but so far so good. So I scraped through a bit more of this ice cream, this half of the entire ice cream of course, And I've got to say that the overall flavor profile of this particular ice cream seems to be quite alright. And the ice cream itself doesn't really taste too much of caramel, that I have to say. But overall, it's a nice homogeneous, aside from the brownie piece, a nice homogeneous rounded flavor. Yeah, and those brownie pieces, while they aren't very brownie-like, they are a nice addition to this, and maybe it's a good thing that they are more crumbly and not as chewy. With that overplayed chewiness, it sometimes is a bit annoying to have all that stuff in your teeth, and like this, it's different. They still call it brownie, maybe call it a different brownie, but so far so good. I'm quite impressed, because usually those Moophoria ice creams aren't really my thing. This, up until this point, is quite alright. I think I'm going to finish this half off, and I'll give you my verdict in just a second. The consumption process is complete, and I think we're ready to type in some numbers into our rating sheet and see where this particular product ends up in it. And the first impression was fine, looked alright, although something that is kind of odd. I do not know if I should deduct points for it. There were some decent air pockets in this, not only at the very top, but also at the bottom. You could feel it I could feel it when I was cutting through it, and also, we clearly saw it at the very top of it. Not the greatest thing to occur in an ice cream that is certainly priced as a premium product, and therefore not exactly full points. In other regards, it has been fine, though. It wasn't looking off in any way. It was looking fine otherwise. Yeah, nothing else to complain about other than quite large air pockets in this particular regard. Color-wise, yeah, nothing to complain about either. It looked alright. The caramel ice cream had a slight yellow tint to it. The caramel swirls looked like caramel swirls, and the brownies were fine in color as well, so nothing to complain about. Consistency and texture-wise, something that was surprising is that the ice cream itself wasn't as runny as I expected it to be. And when it melts in your mouth, you certainly do have more of a watery texture to it. Maybe it's just the air in there that makes it feel different. Maybe it's the same ice cream and there's more air in it. Maybe it's of a different recipe. In some regard, it doesn't feel quite as nice in your mouth when it melts like regular Ben & Jerry's or Häagen-Dazs ice cream does, so therefore I don't really want to give full points. However, the creaminess of the entire thing was fine, and the consistency of the brownie piece, albeit unusual for a brownie piece, was very decent and pleasurable as well. Something that I did find a bit surprising was that quite runny caramel swirl. I really did enjoy that, because usually with those caramel swirls, they are quite thin. Usually they aren't really saucy at all. They're just some mass that you do not really taste too much otherwise. So yeah, 1.5 points in the consistency and texture department. Taste-wise, this is something that left me a bit more impressed than I expected to be. The brownie pieces were fine, taste-wise really nice. The caramel swirl was certainly satisfying as well, not too salty, not too little salt in there, a very toffee-like flavor to it. I did enjoy that. And the ice cream itself was fine as well, although it didn't really taste too much of caramel. At least that's my takeaway from this half of this particular pint. Something that is keeping me from giving full points in this section is that I've got a bit of a weird aftertaste to it right now that I have consumed it and waited for a little while. And it's not necessarily artificial and disgustingly synthetic or anything like that, but it doesn't leave me with that proper premium feel, premium aftertaste, ice cream aftertaste. That might sound a bit weirder than I intended it to, but it's a bit odd. That's just something I have to say about it. It leaves me with an aftertaste that I didn't expect, and I certainly do not like. Therefore, I can only give 4 points in this particular section, which is a bit unfortunate, because the rest of it surprisingly tastes surprisingly well. It's just that aftertaste. Maybe it's the salty caramel swirl in it. Maybe it's something in the ice cream that is different, the base ice cream, who knows. It's certainly not what I expect from a premium ice cream though. It's not too bad, it's not horrible, but it's there and it's just taken away from the entire pleasurable experience, I think at least. Theme realization wise though, I give 1 point. So they certainly have this like lighten up, like lower calorie ice cream. It's all BS, honestly. It's just more air in there. Yeah, they certainly did achieve that. But that salted caramel brownie stuff, you know, that caramel ice cream with that salted caramel swirl, and those brownie pieces, it certainly, yeah, was executed well enough, and therefore I am willing to give 1 out of 1 point in the theme realization section. Therefore, on a scale from 1 to 10, we have got an 8. If you've got a question or a video suggestion, leave it in the comment section down below. And if you want to see more videos just like this one, please subscribe. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope I'm going to see you soon. Until then, bye bye.